Imagine taking almost 12 months off from running your consulting business, not because the business failed, not because you sold it, but because it was running so well, so completely without you, that it just simply didn't need to be there. Most owners of consulting firms would never believe that was possible. And the way most consulting firms operate, it probably isn't possible for them. But it can be different if you break the mold and set your business up differently from the norm. That's exactly what happened to Helene, a remuneration consultant with 7 consultants on her team. When she first came to me, she was working 70-hour weeks, taking work home on top of that, and couldn't see any way to extend her family as she wanted to, while the business was so dependent on her. Well, 18 months later, she was able to take nearly a year off after having her second child while the business ran itself. And it not only grew its client base and landed larger, more profitable projects than it had won before, but it did that with one fewer senior person. Or consider Damien, an IT consultant working 6 days a week, profitable but stuck, unable to grow the business or get his weekends back. Within weeks of starting the process I'm going to share with you today, his revenue increased by $17,000 per month. He got his weekends back, and over the next year was able to hire an operations manager to virtually run the business without him. And today he's planning to expand into new regions. These aren't exceptional people with exceptional businesses. They're consultants just like you who are stuck just like you, working too hard, too many hours, and not knowing how to grow the business any further. But they changed their results by changing their approach. Today, I'm going to show you the 7-step system that made it possible for them and could make it possible for you. Welcome to part 3 of our series on scaling your consulting business past $2 million. In part 1, we covered the 5 critical mistakes that keep 94% of consulting firms trapped in survival mode. In part 2, we looked at what the top 5% do differently and why the shift from operator to orchestrator is the foundation everything else is built on. If you haven't watched those yet, start there. The links are in the description below. Today is where it all comes together. I'm going to walk you through the 7-step system I've used with dozens of consulting firm owners to transform businesses that were dependent, exhausting, and stuck into profitable, self-sustaining firms that gave their owners genuine freedom. Now, I also want to say something up front because it's important. If you're experiencing the frustrations we've talked about in this series, the long hours, the revenue ceiling, the feeling that everything would stop if you stepped away, I want you to hear this clearly. The problem is not you. The problem is your approach. And if you can change your approach, you can change your results. That's what this system is designed to do. And I've written about the whole methodology in my book called Cracking the Code, which you can get a link to in the description below. Okay, let's get into it. Before we get to the 7 steps, though, I want to address something that you may have already experienced. Many consulting firm owners have worked with a business coach before, or they've tried other approaches to breaking through the growth ceiling. And while those experiences may have helped in specific areas, like maybe improving your advertising or getting more leads or improving your processes, the fundamental problem remains. Here's why. Most coaching and consulting approaches work on symptoms, not root causes. They help you get more inquiries or write better proposals or run more efficient meetings, but they don't address the underlying issue, which is your approach to building and running the business. It's like treating a fever without identifying the infection causing it. You might feel better for a while, but the underlying problem is still there. The 7-step system is different. It works on the real problem, the approach, and changes it systematically from the foundation up. That's why the results are different, and that's why they last. Okay, so let's take a look at the 7-step system. And step 1 is to take charge by assessing your current reality. The first step is to stop and take an honest, clear-eyed look at where you are right now. Most consulting firm owners are so busy reacting to what's in front of them that they never step back to assess what's actually working, what isn't, and what they're missing out altogether. This step is about breaking that pattern. You need to examine three things. First, what is working and how you currently run your business and how you can do more of that. Second, what isn't working and how do you eliminate it? And thirdly, what should you be doing that you're currently not doing at all? A big part of this assessment is an honest reflection on your own leadership, your attitude, your skills, your knowledge, not to beat yourself up, but to get real about where the gaps are, because those gaps are almost always where the biggest opportunities are hiding. To be fair, you probably can't do this yourself. You need someone with an unbiased perspective to give you feedback. When you take charge of your situation this way, you stop being a victim of circumstances and start being proactive about your results. That shift alone is the beginning of how you change everything. Step 2 is to plan for success. You need to define where you're going. Once you know where you're starting from, you need absolute clarity about where you're going. This is the planning step, and it's far more than setting revenue targets. It's a process of discovery where you define your vision and mission, you develop the strategies that make your firm genuinely different from your competitors, and put it all together into a prioritized action plan. Think of it as a blueprint. Every project, every development activity, every change you identified in step 1, sequenced, scheduled, and prioritized in a way that makes sense for your specific situation. This is the step where most operators experience a significant mindset shift because for the first time, instead of reacting to all the urgent things that you do day to day, you're designing what's important and prioritizing activities around that. Instead of working in the business, you're now working on it, deliberately, strategically, with a clear picture of the destination. One thing I always emphasize here, the vision you create has to be bigger than you. As we discussed in part 2, nobody rallies behind an owner's personal financial goals. Your vision needs to articulate the change you want to create for your clients and your team, something genuinely compelling that people want to be a part of. Okay, here's the first action point. If you don't have a written strategic plan, not a revenue goal, but a real plan with a vision, strategy, and prioritized initiatives, making one is your first and most urgent priority. Even a rough draft is infinitely better than operating without one. Let's look at step 3, which is to build your client acquisition system. For most consulting firms, the next priority is straightforward. You need a reliable, consistent flow of the right clients, not more clients, the right clients. High-value, well-matched clients who are a genuine fit for what you do best, who value your expertise and who have the potential for a long-term relationship. This step is about building a sales and marketing system, not a campaign, not a referral hope, but a structured, repeatable engine that brings your ideal clients into your world and nurtures them toward a decision over time. And critically, it's about building what I call a sales escalator. When you get a new lead, it's just the start of the journey. A well-designed client system means you always have the next logical step for them, more value to offer, a deeper engagement, expanded services, so that the great leads don't just disappear, they stay, they deepen the relationship, and they buy. Not only that, but they end up becoming raving fans and refer others to you. Everything about this process can be systemized. Much of it can be automated, which means when it's built correctly, it works without you having to personally drive every interaction. But you have to start with the right strategy. Often that's about limiting what you offer instead of trying to be all things to all people like so many consultants do. Damien, the IT consultant I mentioned at the start, saw his revenue jump by $17,000 per month within weeks of restructuring his approach, not because he worked harder, but because he finally had a system that focused on bringing in the right clients instead of whoever happened to call. So here's the action point for this step. Map out your current client journey end to end. Where does it start? What are the steps from first contact to signed engagement? What happens after the work's delivered? Identify the biggest gap in that journey. That's where your system needs to be built first. Step number 4 is to systemize your operations. And this is a step that genuinely transforms the day-to-day experience of running a consulting firm. And it's often the one that owners resist the most because it feels like a big task. And it is, but it's also the one that pays off the longest. Systemizing your operations means documenting how your business works, every process, every procedure, every repeated decision, so that anyone can understand what to do and how to do it without having to ask you. Think of it this way. Your systems are simply your thinking done in advance. Every time you make the same decision twice, solve the same problem twice, or answer the same question twice, that's a system waiting to be documented. And once it's documented, you never have to do that thinking again. Your team can simply follow the system. Or these days, you can get a lot of repeatable processes performed by AI and improve your efficiency and cost structure radically. Now, here's where it's important. First, you need to make sure you have the right systems in place. Not just systemize what you're doing already and have random processes systemized and repeatable, because then you're just entrenching the inefficiency that's already in your business. You want to make sure that you make the systems efficient, make sure that you're working on the right methodology, the right systems and processes, then document them in a way that your team can follow repeatably. When Liam and Rick, 2 of my clients in the shop fitting profession, went through this process, they discovered that most of their costly mistakes were happening because the same decisions were being made differently by different people on different projects. Systemizing the way they worked didn't just free up their time, it dramatically reduced errors, improved quality, and enabled them to win more profitable contracts because they could demonstrate consistency and reliability to their clients. Here's the action point for this step. Identify the 3 processes in your business that you're most often pulled into. Those are your first 3 systems to document. Start there before anything else. Step 5 is to develop your team. When your operations are systemized, you now have the foundation to genuinely develop your team. And this is where the transformation from operator to orchestrator becomes real. This step is about moving from the informality of a small practice where everyone figures things out as they go to a structured environment where people have clear roles, clear expectations, and the authority to make decisions within their area without coming to you. It's not about adding more people. It's about empowering the people you already have. When your team has the clarity about where the business is going, understands their role in getting it there, and has the systems to support them, something remarkable happens. They stop becoming a source of stress for you and become a genuine asset. The complaint I hear constantly is, you just can't get good people these days. And that complaint always disappears at this stage because the problem was never the people. It was the environment those people exist in. When you build an environment where good people can thrive, they do. Your action point for this step? For 2 or 3 of your most critical team members, schedule a dedicated conversation this month, not about their current workload, but about their role in the firm's future. What do they want to achieve? What do they need to be able to perform at their best? What decisions could they own entirely if given the chance? The answers might surprise you. Step 6 then is to install your control systems. Growing a business without visibility over performance is like flying without instruments. You might stay in the air for a while, but eventually something goes wrong that you didn't see coming. This step is about building your business cockpit, the dashboards, the KPIs, the financial reports, and the operational metrics that tell you at a glance whether the business is on track or not. And this is not so that you can micromanage, but so that you can lead, so that you can be anywhere in the world and still know exactly how your business is performing. The right control systems do something else too. They shift accountability from you personally to the business as a whole. And when performance is measured, tracked, and visible to everyone, not just you, your team starts to self-manage. They know when they're on track and they know when they're not. And they're motivated to course correct without being told. This is the step that truly enables you to step back from the day-to-day, because you no longer need to be physically present to know what's happening. Your action point? Define the 5 numbers that would tell you in 5 minutes whether your business is healthy or in trouble. Revenue, pipeline, utilization, client retention, profitability, whatever matters most in your model. If those 5 numbers aren't tracked and visible to you weekly, make sure you change that this week. Step 7 is to break free. Step back with confidence. This is a step that most owners think is years away, but it could be actually much closer than you think. Once you have the systems, the team, and the controls in place, the final step is a gradual, deliberate handing over of responsibility. Not all at once, but systematically, one area at a time, building the confidence on both sides that the business can operate without you at the center. When you generally reach that point, you have 3 remarkable options in front of you. Firstly, you could sell the business. A consulting firm that operates independently of its founder commands a dramatically higher valuation than one that collapses without them. The work you've done in steps 1 through 6 doesn't just free you, it builds an asset that someone else will pay you money for. Option 2 is that you can step back and live off the profits the business is making. Let the business continue generating income while you reclaim your time, your health, and your relationships. Or finally, and this is the option I find most exciting, you can expand. You now have a proven, documented, replicable business model that you can take to new markets, new geographies, and new client segments. What took you years to build the first time can be replicated far faster the second time. Now, I want to leave you with something that I think is the most important insight from this entire series. The gap between the 6% of consulting firms that scale past $2 million and the 94% that don't is not talent, and it's not luck. It's not connections or credentials or market conditions even. It's the approach. The owners who break through are not smarter than you. They're not working harder than you. In fact, they're almost certainly working less. They've simply changed the way they think about their role and then systematically built the business that reflects that new thinking. Now you have the map, 7 steps, a clear sequence and real examples of what becomes possible when you follow it. The only question is whether you decide to use it. If you watched all 3 parts of this series so far and you're ready to take the next step, I'd love to help you do that. The link in the description below will take you to my book, Cracking the Code, which goes into each of these steps in much greater detail. And it's written specifically for consulting firm owners with teams of up to 20 people who are ready to break through that growth plateau. There's also a link to book a conversation with me if you'd like to talk about what this process could look like for your specific firm. And if this series has been valuable, please share it with another consultant or firm owner who needs to hear it. The most common thing I hear from people who go through this process is, I wish I'd found this sooner. So help someone with it now. And I'd love you to hit subscribe or drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway from the series. And I'll see you in the next video where I'll unpack even more reasons for you to get onto this path.